Hello and welcome to the Olympic virtual series Ultimate Chase. Today we're bringing together Olympians past and present, champions across a wide range of disciplines, to compete against each other through the power of virtual sports as part of the first ever Olympic virtual series. This historic series has already allowed hundreds of thousands of people across the globe the chance to get involved with the Olympic movement by participating alongside their heroes in virtual sports programmes across 5 different sports. And today we're focused on virtual cycling. And we have an all-star bike race lined up for you, filled with a plethora of world champion athletes and some very brave amateur racers, all being chased by the greatest time trialer of his generation, the man they call Spartacus, Fabian Cancellara. And look at this astonishing array of athletic excellence competing today. We have champions in different continents, time zones, not to mention one of the most successful musicians of all time, and a selected handful of community riders who are pitting themselves against the very greats of sport. Now, the concept of the race is pretty simple. They're all starting at handicapped intervals on a virtual course, and the aim is to get to the finish line first and not be caught by your chasing time trial specialist, Mr. Cancellara. Let me introduce you then to our start list individually. First up, we have Team GB Olympic gold medal winning hockey goalkeeper Maddie Hinch getting warmed up there as we speak. Double gold medal winning oarsman James Cracknell is no stranger to competing in tests of endurance. Jonathan Edwards is an Olympic, World, European and Commonwealth gold medal winner, and he is still the triple jump world record holder. Alistair Brownlee is a double Olympic gold medalist and 2-time world champion in the triathlon. Lucy Charles Barkley goes even further, a 3-time world championship silver medalist in the Ironman. World champion marathon runner Paula Radcliffe will know all about pushing into the red. And Melanie C. Sporty Spice is mixing it with the elite. And I have a feeling Melanie will absolutely hold her own today. We're going to have a little chat with her now. I mean, this is some huge challenge, Melanie, taking on some of these incredible Olympians. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling incredibly nervous, as I'm sure you can imagine, but what an honour it is for me. Obviously, with the Spice Girls, I was able to perform at London 2012, so I kind of feel like I've performed for my country. But yes, tonight I'm competing in the name of girl power.
Absolutely, and you're not called Sporty for nothing. Now, I heard yesterday it's 25 years since Wannabe. So, you know, your fitness levels have been up there for a quarter of a century. You've never really gone away from sport, have you? It's always been really central to your life and your health and your well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute passion of mine, and it's such an important part of my life as well. I think we've more recently learned about how good it is for our mental health as well as our physical health, especially through the pandemic. So yes, always championing sport and trying to get people involved.
You're in the middle. You put yourself in the middle there with the times that you've already displayed. So who are you hoping to pip off today?
Do you know what? To be honest, as long as I don't come last, I'll be happy. But I think even if I do come last, I think that's fair enough, looking at the amazing people I'm competing against today.
Best of luck. I don't think it's just about not coming last for you. You're competitive as well as sporty. Thank you very much, Melanie. And I have some bad news for you as well, Melanie, because we have more incredible athletes joining you on the start line today. These guys are all cyclists by trade. So Chris Hoy, 6-time Olympic gold medalist. He may prefer the track, but he's got some hills to look forward to in this one. How about this for a list of achievements? 14-time Paralympic champion, 29-time world champion, 41-time European champion. I mean, I could go on. Dame Sarah Story always comes to win. Kristen Armstrong won 3 Olympic time trial gold medals in a row. She'll be pacing her effort to perfection in this one. And Alberto Contador will be tough for anyone to catch, a 2-time Tour de France winner and one of only 2 men to have won all 3 Grand Tours more than once. Completing our field today, we have 4 very special amateur riders from the Zwift community, limbering up at the moment, and they've all been given a really special chance to give our champions a run for their money. All of our riders will be chased by Fabian Cancellara, one of the greatest classics and time trial riders of all time, a heat-seeking missile looking to pick off our field one by one. OK, we've met the riders. Now it's time to have a look at the course they'll be riding. Inspired by the Japanese countryside, the race takes place on Zwift's new Makuri Islands World on the Umezi map, with a couple of lung-bursting climbs for our riders to look forward to. Former professional cyclist Matt Stevens and Olympic gold medalist Danny Rowe are in commentary for us today, and they took on the Umezi course a little earlier to see what's in store for our competitors.
Well, here we are. Danny, lovely to see you in this brand new Umezi world.
You too, Matt.
I love our kit.
It's amazing, isn't it? I absolutely love new routes in game.
So, this is the countryside tour. It's 27.4 kilometres long with 342 metres of elevation, and we're going to be doing just under 2 laps with a hilltop finish.
After about 6 Ks, we'll swing off left onto the Temple KOM climb. It's a climb with a twist because it's off-road. It's really, really quite grippy, but there's plenty of time to warm up.
Like you say, it's a nice warm-up, but actually, there's not much respite.
So we're just going through the rice fields here, just on the left-hand side. But Danny, we're coming up to the first sprint, and I'm leading you out.
I better get my game on.
I can't believe I've beaten an Olympic champion. Oh no, she's rolled me on the line.
I saw those Olympic rings. It gave me some extra firepower.
Now this is where we do start a little bit of climbing. You can just see we're going through a cut through here. We've got these walls to the left and right. The gradient picks up a little bit.
This is a really cool town that we're going through, the lanterns, and this is really special. This is something I hadn't really seen before in game. This is a really cool marker point, I would say. A kind of focus of a first section to set your mind on to get to.
Like we're in a different world now, isn't it? I do love this off-road stuff.
It's really cool, but I think I need my mountain bike.
You've got the gradient to contend with, which is hard enough when you're riding on tarmac, but when you're riding on gravel like this, it will hurt even more. So it's almost like adding a percentage to the gradient in terms of effort.
I feel like I'm riding in treacle, Matt.
Yeah. This is where the gradient bites a bit more, 6% now. The kind of last kilometre or so is consistently the most difficult part of this climb. We just peaked at 10% there. As we get nearer the top of the climb, look at the views, it's magnificent.
This route is so deceiving on paper, it doesn't look too bad. When you're riding, it's really hard.
And here we go, just look at the tree ahead. We're going to swing left, and basically that is the finish line. But of course, we've got another complete lap to go. Back onto the tarmac.
We're going back under the banner now.
We're on familiar territory again.
Yeah, that's it, Matt. And we're well over halfway now. You're dropping me here, Matt.
Oh, sorry. I got a bit carried away. I was holding a bit back, you see. So 7.5 Ks to go now. So this is it, the finish line. Find your gear and give it everything now.
Big sprint to the line.
Brilliant. Whew. Done and dusted.
That climb is hard. You've got to leave something in the tank.
Matt and Danny, that looked pretty tough. Did you enjoy it, Danny?
That was really tough, but I did really enjoy it. It's such a fantastic route, but it is a really hard one with those 2 climbs in it. It's going to be a hard one out there today for the riders.
What else are they going to find tough, Matt, do you think? And there's some big names out there challenging this course.
Yeah, we know that the names out there are going to be super, super competitive, so they're going to make it hard for themselves. But as Danny alluded to, there's a tough climb, but this climb doesn't really have a super, super quick descent. They're going to have to work hard over the top of the descent as well. So there's not a lot of opportunities on this particular course for much rest at all. It's going to be attritional, to say the very least.
Olympians, Paralympians, a global pop star in there, Danny, as well. What are you looking forward to? What kind of battles do you see taking place today?
I think there are going to be big battles out there today. You know, they're all so competitive in their own right. A lot of Olympians, world champions, like you say. So I'm looking forward to see the sprinters. Obviously, it's a longer endurance event, so it would potentially favour the likes of Paula Radcliffe, but Chris Hoy, I think he's going to be a dark horse. I'm looking forward to seeing him out there.
Well, the word on the street, Matt, is that he was a little bit concerned, you know, that maybe he wasn't kind of built for this. He's not, obviously, he's used to being in a velodrome. He's not used to the road. Sounded to me like he was trying to get some intel. He's so competitive. He would love to win this. He
certainly was. He's got a real competitive spirit. I know he's a little bit nervous, and he's given us a little bit of information. He said he knows he's going to be fantastic for the first 10 seconds, then a little bit concerned about the following hour. So that remains to be seen.
OK, maybe you could just build those 10 seconds. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy today. Well, we can actually speak to Chris Hoy now, 6-time Olympic gold medalist in cycling, of course, but not this type of cycling, Sir Chris.
No, it certainly isn't. I think if it was about a kilometre long, maybe half a kilometre, I'd be all right. But yeah, it's about 26.5 k's too far for me. And there's 2 big hills in it as well. I've got all the excuses.
And I know you've been indulging in your passion for motorsport as well over the last few years, but you're still an absolute whiz in the gym. I've seen the videos of you with your weights, you know, so there's a lot of power in those legs.
It doesn't help with the hills, though. You know, I can do a short burst still, but yeah, for today, I'm just concerned that my pride and my ego makes me go a bit too hard, and I'll be absolutely suffering. So I've got to try and rein it in at the start, just take it steady, and then hopefully pick up a few riders later on.
But you're still passionate about cycling, of course, so how good is it for you that you can be part of an event like this with Zwift that takes in people from all over the world and, you know, hopefully encourages people in very diverse communities as well to get involved in the sport?
Yeah, I think it democratises cycling in many ways. It's far more accessible than a lot of other aspects of cycling. So, as you say, it doesn't matter where you are in the world right now. If you've got a computer, if you've got a turbo trainer, you can ride with, you know, Olympic legends, Tour de France legends, all kinds of people. And it's a wonderful way to get people into the sport and to stay fit and healthy and have fun. Best
of luck today, Sir Chris. Don't go too hard. Now, I've given you an overview of today's event, but time for a little detail. Rahsan Bahati has everything you need to know about this Olympic virtual series, Ultimate Chase.
So what is a chase race, you might ask? How does it work? How can you win? Or perhaps more appropriately, not lose? Well, whether you want to call it a chase race, a chop race, a handicap race, or a staggered start, it always comes down to the same 3 things. A predefined course distance, a group of riders leaving at intervals based on their own abilities, and the aim of getting to the finish line first. For the Olympic Virtual Series Ultimate Chase on Zwift, it's no different. Our celebrity and community riders leave the start pins one by one in order, from the slowest first to the fastest last. But with the additional kicker that they'll all be chased down by double Olympic gold medalist Fabian Cancellara. Don't look over your shoulder, folks. Just keep pedaling. Do you go out hard from the start and try to stay away? Or do you take it easy and save something for the final climb? Whichever tactics our riders choose, one thing's for sure. Fabian's gonna be coming up fast behind you, so you've better give it everything you've got.
OK, we've seen the course, we've met the athletes, now it's time to find out the start times and who'll be going off first today. And here is our start list. You'll see the stagger of times between the riders has been worked out by our expert coach based on previous performance data. So Maddie Hinch is going off first in just a couple of minutes, followed by one of our community riders, Tina Buan-Frankenheim from Germany. And then it's Paula Radcliffe. Melanie C is nearer the middle of the pack, followed fairly quickly by Sir Chris Hoy and Kristen Armstrong. And down the bottom there, James Cracknell, Alistair Brownlee and Alberto Contador are all going off only a couple of minutes ahead of our chaser, Fabian Cancellara. Let's join our first rider today, Maddie Hinch. And now she's just a minute or so away from starting. But Maddie, just a few days ago, you were playing top-level international hockey. So how is the body feeling?
Yeah, a little tired, but I'm not making excuses here. I'm set to go. I'm incredibly competitive, and yeah, we're looking forward to this.
How much cycling do you do in your training as a hockey goalkeeper?
Very little. Very little. Definitely used to the max efforts over about 10 seconds, let alone about an hour on a bike. But I do love a challenge. So like I said, I'm competitive, so I'll give it a good go.
There are some big names in the field today, but you are the one that goes off first. Do you feel like you've got a target on your back, Maddie?
A little bit. I guess it's a bit like this summer going into the Olympics with a target on her back, so I've got to get used to it. But yeah, I would take first to get going any day, so I'm happy with the first start place for sure.
Well, we are wishing you all the very best. You are a golden girl. I'm sure you'll have a golden opportunity today to make your mark in virtual cycling. Thank you, Maddie. We'll let Maddie get ready. She's just about to go off and join our commentators for our first bit of live racing. Matt Stevens and Danny Rowe.
Well, our first rider is out on the course. It is, of course, Maddie Hinch. Not a known cyclist, but I'm sure she'll equip herself very, very well over this 27.4 kilometre course. Absolutely beautiful surroundings, but the job at hand is going to be a tough one. And it's always great commentating alongside Danny Rowe. Danny, we've both ridden this course. We know what's coming up, but for someone like Maddie, who's exceptionally experienced athlete, this is a completely different proposition. So how would you kind of pace this if you were her, or what the advice that you'd be to her?
It is totally different, especially for Maddie, who is used to making short bursts. She's more of a sprint type athlete, being the best goalkeeper in the world for the British team. Just got back from the European Championships, actually, only a couple of days ago competed, so potentially still have sore legs. But my advice to Maddie would be to really pace herself. We've both ridden this course before, and it's got a sting in the tail. They've got to go up the Temple QOM twice, so it's really important for a rider like Maddie to save something in the tank.
So one rider on the course, one of our community riders, Tina Buan-Frankenheim from Germany, is about to join Maddie, and world champion and world record-breaking marathon runner Paula Radcliffe will be away next. Paula, we know what you can do when you've got a pair of trainers on and you're on the road, and I've seen you on Zwift before. How are you feeling about this virtual cycle ride?
Nervous. I wasn't very good last time, to say the least, but it was a lot of fun. And I feel like I learned something in that. Apparently, you've got to start pedaling a lot quicker before the start. So I need to work on getting off my start line quicker. But yeah, I've been getting some tips.
Yeah, last time I don't think you'd had a lot of practice actually on your piece of equipment, had you, let's say? So you've got more familiar with it this time.
I have been getting a little bit competitive and cramming in some sessions on it in the last couple of weeks.
Look, one of your fellow teammates, or your former teammates, Jonathan Edwards, is in the field today. How confident are you about finishing ahead of him?
Not very. I've seen Jonathan. We've trained together. Actually, when we've been away working, we've trained together in the gym, and I've seen what he's like on the bike. So, yes, I think I need a big head start from Jonathan.
Best of luck, Paula. I know you will be magnificent today. Let's get back out then with our lovely commentary team, Danny Rowe and Matt Stevens.
Rider number one off is Maddie Hinch, as we talked about, as we look at Tina Buan-Frankenheim. A wonderful story of a comeback from Tina here. Great to see her out on the road. She's 1 minute and 30 seconds behind Maddie. Next rider up is only 30 seconds behind her, and that is Paula Radcliffe. But great to see the riders finally getting out on this course. And the opening few Ks, importantly, are quite flat. So 5.5, 6 kilometres, easy kind of gently rolling terrain just to bed yourself in.
It is. It's a really good warm-up for the riders, Matt, if they haven't, not used to warm-ups on the bike, especially for those non-cyclists of the athletes that we're seeing out there today. We can see Tina now, again, like you mentioned, a really inspirational story. She came back from breast cancer. She found cycling and regained fitness and a positive relationship with her body. She's also a community leader, which is fantastic. So great to see her out there on the course today, setting off just behind Maddie Hinch. Like you mentioned, they should really focus about the riders in front of them, Matt, not worry too much about who's chasing them behind, get into their own rhythm and settle in this flatter section before they hit the climb.
Another all-time great athlete is standing by now to join the race, Jonathan Edwards. Now, Jonathan, you have Melanie C chasing you down, which is a sentence I'm sure you have never heard before in your career.
You're absolutely right, Gabby. I mean, I'm pretty nervous about this. I've never raced on a bike before. I love my cycling. I love getting out in the Lake District. I love riding on Zwift when the weather's not so good. But as for racing, and I have to say I'm less worried about Melanie C than I am about Cancellara, Chris Hoy, to name but a few. But it should be fun.
Yeah, well, Melanie C's in the middle of the field. You know, she's pretty good. She's fit. I don't think she'd have put herself up there if she wasn't sure she could do some damage to the field today. You mentioned those names, you know, the likes of Chris Hoy, of course, Dame Sarah Story as well. Who would you really like to take? Which scalp would you quite fancy?
To be honest, Gabby, I'm just want to get to the end without embarrassing myself. I'm not too worried about scalps. I'm just hoping it's not my scalp that's the one that's on the stick at the end, I think, really.
Now, look, we're just a few weeks away from an Olympic Games, and every time there's a major championship, we watch the triple jump, but particularly in the UK, and we cross our fingers that your incredible record isn't going to go, still holding on to that world record. Are you confident you can kind of skate through 2021 and still be the world record holder?
I mean, I think I had my 25-year anniversary last year, and that kind of, I thought, once that's gone, I can feel much more relaxed about it going. So good luck to them. I feel for the athletes, as you well know, it's going to be a tough Olympics, I think. Very different from what they anticipated a year later on. And it'll be really quite something to raise their game, possibly in front of no fans, so it'll be hard.
It will be tough, but we will all be so appreciative, won't we, when we see them competing out there in Tokyo. And we wish you the very best today, Jonathan. I know you're going to pull something special out the bag for us. OK, we'll leave you to get ready, Jonathan. You look like you're getting your warm-up going nicely there. And best of luck. And now, Matt Stevens is ready to call you off. Let's go to Matt in the commentary booth with Danny Rowe.
We're looking at, again, here at Maddie Finch, the first rider off, setting a nice little tempo here. She certainly looks to be going well. She's running at around, well, just under 30 kilometres an hour, which if she keeps that average speed up, bearing in mind we do have that tough climb to come, she should finish in around about an hour. But it is all about measuring your effort here, not pushing too far, and trying to enjoy the experience as best you can. We're going to be passing through some, well, we're just passing through some paddy fields. You'll see the rights over to your left and the right. We go through some farmlands, a fishing village, and then we actually finish, we go up the climb twice, and we finish within the depths, right in the centre of a giant mystical tree. I wonder if anybody's going to be mystically inspired today, Danny.
I hope so, Matt. It is a really beautiful course. We've got cherry blossom as well, and we've got some lanterns that the riders can really use as a focus to try and get towards. But it's a nice course. It's got lots of different scenery, which is great for the riders to be able to focus and home in on, you know, so they're not just focusing on that road ahead and the pain in their legs. They've got some distractions, so they're not thinking of purely the pain that they're going through at this moment in time.
Yeah, well, as well as the attractions and looking at this beautiful countryside that we're riding through, inspired, of course, by the roads, by the landscape of Japan. If you have a really, really close look, as we look at Jonathan Edwards, you can actually see a wild boar roaming freely with its babies jumping behind. Anyway, talking of jumping, we have the man who set the triple jump world record way back in 1995. And it still stands. Absolutely astonishing. Jonathan Edwards, Olympic champion, world champion, European champion, and a massive fan of bike riding, is out on the course at the moment. And you would imagine, given his love of road cycling, that he'll know how to ride this, won't he? He'll know how to pace his effort. A completely different sport than the one he was Olympic champion at, but he knows his cycling. So what are you expecting from Jonathan here today?
I'm actually expecting a lot. You know, he looks like he's got all the gear in his pain cave out there today. Jonathan Edwards, he's talked about how much he loves cycling. He's had years since his professional triple jump career to get used to being out on the bike. He loves his virtual setup within his pain cave, so I'm expecting lots from Jonathan Edwards. He's off early as well, so you know he's got to try and stay away from Melanie C, who's just behind him, starting a minute behind Jonathan Edwards out there today, still holding that world record, which is absolutely incredible at 25 years, which is what that world record stands for. So we've got Mel C now, Melanie C out on course, trying to chase down Jonathan Edwards. She is an absolutely fantastic bike rider. Sporty Spice, one of my all-time heroes. I think she's going to be up there today, Matt.
Well, we've seen her before perform well in virtual cycling, haven't we? Back last year we watched her in action. She was exceptionally good, a bit of a dark horse, but now everybody knows how strong she is, so she is going to be one to watch today, that is for sure. As she speeds along at the moment, just trying to look at a couple of her stats, 148 beats a minute, and she's running along. She's the quickest on course at the moment. She's doing 51 kilometres an hour, which is almost a rude sort of pace. Can she hold this up? Well, we've seen it before. She can. She is exceptionally fit. We know she rides a bike quite a lot, and we know how competitive she is. But what she said at the top of the show to Gabby was really inspirational, wasn't it? How sport has actually helped her through, especially through these difficult times. And there she is, that familiar style of Melanie C, not only one of the finest singers of the generation. There she is smiling. Is that a smile? Or is that a grimace? I'm not too sure, but it's early days yet, but very, very good numbers indeed. That's a smile from Melanie C. That might turn to a grimace on the climb, Danny, but for the moment, she's well on her way.
She absolutely is. Look at that power that she's holding out there now. Over 3 watts per kilo. She's getting into her groove on this flat section of road. And the beats per minute, 155 at the moment, which is pretty low. She's still got loads in the tank, and she's saving something for the Temple QOM.
With some great words. You used the word groove, you used the word beat, 2 words. Well, I tell you what, some grooves and some beats will be dropped by Melanie C later on, that is for sure. But in all seriousness, grooves and beats aside, she's setting a very, very good tempo, hovering at around 2.5, 3 watts a kilo. It seems to me she's kind of holding a little bit back and is going to bed herself in. And I think that's a really good tactic. If you're kind of new to this, it's probably better to hold something back, isn't it? To really push deeper in as you get further into the ride.
Definitely, especially on a course like it is today. It's better to finish strongly. You know, you've got that gravel climb. It really does feel like you're riding through mud. And looking at the beats per minute, also the really nice pedaling style from Melanie C, holding around 85 revs per minute, which we know is a great efficient pedaling cadence as well. I think she's still got more in the tank.
Well, here's a reminder of the rider order today. And we have a little break now before Lucy Hempstead, our community rider from Canada, joins them. All being chased today by, of course, Fabian Cancellara, the hunter, looking to pick off his prey one by one. Well, June has been a busy month for virtual cyclists. Just take a little look at some of the events we've had so far.
This month has galvanized participation in cycling as the inaugural Olympic Virtual Series takes center stage, with tens of thousands of riders from over 100 countries joining group workouts, podcast rides, and chase races. Everyone got the chance to train like an Olympian with an Olympian, like Sir Chris Hoy, who was back on track last week, or bronze medalist Georgia Simmerling, the first Canadian to compete in 3 different sports in 3 different Olympic Games, who led a group ride. And reigning road and time trial world champion Anna van Bregen, whose podcast ride kept everyone motivated. This unique series of events has allowed riders from all categories and abilities to be part of sporting history.
Well, I'm delighted we're now going to be joined by Lucy Hempstead, who is one of our community riders taking part today, getting ready to set off in just a few moments' time. Lucy's in Canada today. Hello, Lucy. Nice to meet you. You are one of the, well, you are the youngest rider, never mind youngest community rider at just 20 years old. And of course, this is a field littered with Olympians, huge stars of the sport. And there you are taking them on. How does that feel?
It's surreal. My dream my whole life has been to just be in the Olympics and to be able to ride with some Olympians that I actively look up to every day, like Lucy, Charles, and Alistair, and it's ridiculous to be able to ride with them.
It's brilliant opportunity, and you could be beating them as well. The way that the race is staggered, it's obviously handicapped as well. So there's plenty. I mean, you're clearly taking this very seriously. You've been warming up there. You've got medals behind you, but they're not from cycling.
No, they're from track and field back when I did that all through high school.
So your basic kind of sport was track and field. That was the foundation for you. And then cycling found you. And you said you're absolutely so glad it did because you were in love with this sport.
Yeah, it's worked out perfectly with everything that I had going on with track. It didn't work out. And RBC Training Ground scouted me out for cycling, and it's been history ever since. It's such an amazing sport.
Oh, well, best of luck today. I have a feeling you're going to do very well indeed, Lucy.
Oh, thank you so much.
See you later. Well, Lucy will have Olympic time trial champion Kristen Armstrong chasing her down, and we can talk to Kristen now. Kristen, how are you? How are you feeling ahead of this one?
I'm doing great. You know, this morning my husband was like, wow, you actually are acting like it's time trial day. You have an aura about you, a mood, and I think it's just ingrained in my blood, that competitive blood that I was born with.
Yeah, you can't win 3 Olympic golds back-to-back without having some kind of competitive spirit, Kristen. And so this is perhaps maybe appealing to you and your talents more than a lot of people in the field. Have you seen the course? Do you think it's right up your street?
Yeah, you know, as a time trialist, it doesn't really matter what kind of course. I just approach the course for whatever that terrain is. But I have to say, the start list today is, I'm personally starstruck, you know, so I am super excited to be out there with everyone.
It is a very varied start list, isn't it? You know, from the worlds of showbiz and pop to obviously Olympians who are so well decorated and Paralympians as well, athletics to boot, and our community riders. How wonderful to bring together all these people in this event, and people who are also competing at home as well.
Yeah, it's amazing to bring so many people together, but also to bring light to the sport of cycling. You know, I think that virtual cycling really offers so many opportunities to so many people around the world.
Good luck, and we know you're going to absolutely smash this course today, Kirsten. But let's get back to our commentary team of Matt and Danny.
Thanks very much indeed. All of our riders warming up now. Many of them on the course. We've got a bit of a swap around at the front as we look at Greg Patmore, another one of our community riders. And there's the order just on the right-hand side there. So Paula Radcliffe has already made a catch and is currently leading. So she's actually caught up with Tina Boyen-Frankenheim and also Maddie Hintz. So Paula Radcliffe, she had a difficult ride last year. She alluded to that in her interview, didn't she? But she is absolutely flying as we get our first look at Greg Patmore. Looks like he's on his patio. That's for sure. He needs to cuprinol that fence a little bit. That's just a bit of advice, but 300 watts is looking very, very good, very, very strong. And that's not a surprise, because he's a regular rider in the real world and of course, in the virtual world too.
He is. He's a fantastic community member. He runs part of the Black Cycling Network, but actually, Matt, at the moment, he's training for the London Marathon, so maybe he's putting more energy into his running than he is his cycling, but he was looking strong out there today at the start of this chase ride.
What he needs to do is get in contact on Zoom with Paula Radcliffe, get a few tips as we look at Chris Hoy out on the course. Well, look at that muscled avatar. I was hoping that would replicate his real physique in game, because Chris Hoy, well, high revolutions. We knew he would do the first 10 seconds faster than anybody else, but it's all about measuring his effort, because we had a cheeky chat with him before the start. He's a bit nervous, but in all seriousness, although he's a sprint king, he's an exceptionally gifted athlete, so he should be fine, shouldn't he?
He really is. I've been out on the road with him before, and he's really playing himself down. I'm expecting a lot from Sir Chris Hoy today. You know, look at all those gold medals that he's had, multiple world and Olympic champion. I'm sure he can put out the power today for an hour, not just that 10-second start we know he can do.
Well, we've got Kristen Armstrong. She's gone out on the course. 3 Olympic gold medalists in the time trial. Chris Hoy, we just talked about. John Kadayuki is out there, the Kenyan from Team Amani. He's out there as well. And we're looking now at Lucy Charles-Barclay, one of the finest triathletes in the world at the moment, well on her way and putting out some good stats. So we're getting the real heavy hitters towards the back end here. It's going to be an interesting battle, I think, between Barclay, Kadayuki and Chris Hoy. And I'm wondering what other catches we're going to be seeing. But when you think about the talent of Lucy Charles-Barclay and measuring her effort, I mean, an Ironman takes about 8 3/4 hours, isn't it? Something like that. So she, out of all of these athletes here, knows herself inside out, doesn't she?
She does. And unlike the likes of Sir Chris Hoy, who, you know, this could be potentially too long for, this could be too short for the likes of Lucy Charles-Barclay with only an hour of bike riding. But like you said, Matt, she does know how to measure her effort. She should be perfect for this sort of pacing judgment that we need to see out there today, as will Sarah Story, who we can see now on the course.
Indeed, Dame Sarah Story, the Paralympian, 14 golds, making her the most successful female Paralympian of all time. And she knows how to race well on this virtual platform as well. She is very, very quick indeed, very, very experienced. And again, a real specialist at the individual time trial as well as road racing. So she knows how to ride. And we know she'll put out some very, very impressive numbers indeed.
She will, and she's recently just got back from the World Championships where she won another 2 gold medals in the time trial and the road race. So she's now quarantining. It was in Portugal. She's been on Zwift so much in the virtual cycling world. She's used it so much throughout lockdown. So she really knows how to ride on the virtual platform.
And James Cracknell now out on the course. Another one of our Olympic gold medalists, as well as 6 world titles as well.
Alistair Brownlee is about to follow James Cracknell down the road, but we can now chat to the man they call Spartacus. Fabian Cancellara is our chaser today, a specialist, of course, in the one-day classics and in time trials. Hello, Fabian. What a wonderful backdrop you got there. You love being the chaser, don't you? You love this role.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, this is what been a bit also from my past when it comes to chase. I mean, I have my own racing series as well, but here we talk really about chasing. And when you watch bike races, then especially when Matt Stevens is talking about, then he mentioned many, many times the chase group has to chase. So I think, no, it's something special. I'm looking forward. We have multiple other winners and just lovers of cycling, and looking forward, definitely.
Let's talk about one man's name, though. Alberto Contador is just going off a minute ahead of you. He's the one to catch, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Alberto, when I see on his social media the way he's still riding, I think he's definitely in a good shape. But on the end, yeah, everyone is on his own place, wherever he is in the world. And we've been now connected and do this virtual race together. And I think on the end, we do something great, we do something new. And but on the end, it's going to be definitely a tough one, but I'm looking still forward for that.
Yeah, the course looks really tough today, doesn't it? There's some killer hills. I'm sure you will cope admirably. Can't wait to see how it pans out. Thank you so much, Fabian. Best of luck today. I am sure you will absolutely smash this course. Let's get out to our commentary team, Matt Stevens and Danny Rowe.
I think one of the biggest battles today is going to be between Fabian Cancellara and Alberto Contador. They know each other very, very well indeed, and there'll be no love lost out on the road as Cancellara starts his ride, the last person off on this Olympic ultimate chase. There is Fabian Cancellara. Whoa, what a lovely balcony that is.
Is that a picture or is that real life, Matt? Because that looks absolutely stunning. A little bit nicer than some of the other pain caves we've seen out there today.
Yeah, look at him there. That's we believe he's actually in Liechtenstein in real life. But look at that, 5.3 watts a kilo, which equates to around 450 watts. And at the moment, he's just bedding himself in. And as we said before, one of the finest proponents of the individual time trial. We know he rides a lot on the virtual platform as well. So do you think he can do it today? Because it's a big, big difference between the first rider that went off, Maddie Hinch, 18-minute gap to make up. What are your thoughts so far?
That is a huge gap, but I think if anyone can do it, it's Fabian Cancellara. You know, like you mentioned, Matt, he's 4-time world champion, 2-time Olympic gold medalist in the time trial and a one-day classic specialist. So this is right up his street. He knows exactly what sort of power he can hold for that hour duration. So what he needs to now is home in on that and really try and pick riders off one by one. It'll be interesting to see how he goes up the climb. Alberto Contador on paper is a better climber, but it'll be interesting to see how these two riders are going. Kristen Armstrong now, another rider who I know well, a fantastic advocate on the virtual platform and a coach herself. She knows as well how to pace herself.
She certainly does. Those 3 Olympic gold medals, testament to her prowess as we look at Chris Hoyt. Again, a completely different discipline for him. Again, one of the most... There he is, inside his pain cave. Let's have a look at the setup. Looks like, I don't know, some sort... No, he's shaking his head here. It needs to probably dig a little bit deeper than that. But look at that, he's smiling like he's popping to the shops to get a pint of milk. Yet he's still putting out 350 watts. Incredible. I think he's definitely riding a negative split, Chris Hoy here. What do you reckon, Danny?
Shaking his head there is Sir Chris Hoy, just riding casually with his hands on the top of the bars. Making some funny faces. Come on, Chris. I think you've got a bit more in the tank here. Get on those drops. Get a bit more aero. He's shaking his head, but that's a fantastic start. For a sprinter to hold over 300 watts is pretty good, but look at that avatar. It's perfect.
I thought they'd actually used a photograph of Chris Hoy in game. It's that accurate, absolute spectacular stuff. But he's moving along pretty nicely here, isn't he? He's setting that kind of smooth, fluid rhythm that we're kind of so used to. 94 RPM, which is kind of what you'd call an optimum kind of cadence, give or take. 90 RPM, 90 revolutions a minute is what you kind of aim for. But Chris Hoy at the moment looking very, very smooth indeed. But of course, he is very early on and has got the first ascent of that climb still to come.
I'm hoping we'll see a bit more of a pain face from Sir Chris Hoy as we get up that climb. But like you said, Matt, he's riding super efficiently at the moment. He's really trying to pace himself. He knows what's to come.
As we look at John Kadayuki, looking very smooth indeed. Again, very, very good stats here. Oh, well over 5 watts a kilo on that particular section for John Kadayuki, all the way from Kenya. The winner back in 2019 of the Tour of Machakos. Great to see him out on course today. And I think he could be a rider really, really to watch here because he's actually making the catch. He's looking like he's actually catching Chris Hoy. And he just made the catch, flown straight past the multiple Olympic champion like he was standing still.
That was an incredible chase now, and it looks like Sir Chris Hoy is using his power-up. So in game today, the riders have got power-ups. They've got a feather power-up, a draft power-up, and an aero power-up, which we've just seen Sir Chris Hoy use. The van, the draft, which increases draft by 50% for 30 seconds. It's neck and neck now as Sir Chris Hoy tries to get onto the back of John.
Well, that was absolutely... We wondered whether we knew that there's 3 power-ups available, didn't we? So there's the feather, which we'll talk about, but later the draft, which we've just seen in play, and the aero power-up. But that's when... Well, that's the one you want, isn't it? You want the draft power-up when he'd been caught. So we saw that just shows how much Chris Hoy knows about this platform.
OK, let's catch up with one of our riders out on the course now. James Cracknell's about 8 minutes into his ride. James, you've got your game face on. How are you feeling?
I can't see where I am, so I'll go first or last.
I think that means that you're tired.
My distance is broken. It's not going anywhere.
Thanks, James. We'll get back to you later. Well, we've got the first climb coming up in a few minutes' time. So here is Danny Rowe with her tips for preparing yourself for that climb.
It's good to focus on something ahead of you. So maybe for now, you know, the trees in the distance, you know, that tree far ahead, look to that, keep the power going through your legs, stay as stable as you can in your upper body, try and produce all that power through the pedals before you hit the climb. And then when you hit the climb, it might be a case of changing your style. So getting out of the saddle, having that slight respite of being seated for this long section of flat. You'll find that on the flat, you're generally sat down, but it might be a case of getting out of the saddle when you hit the climb and really finding your rhythm and your, you know, the most efficient way of getting up it, again with another climb to go still on the route.
Lucy Charles Barkley out on the course just before Alistair Brownlee, also preparing for the climb. Lucy, how are you enjoying the course out there so far?
Yeah, the course is looking pretty nice at the moment. I can just see Chris Hoy's wheel in front, so trying to grab on.
You're going to take him soon, are you? Is that the plan?
That is hopefully the plan. We'll see if he can hang on for a bit afterwards.
It's been said in commentary, and we all know the kind of times that you're out competing. You know, this is a sprint for you, isn't it? This is just a mere little walk in the park compared to the endurance that you have in your event.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to racing for up to 9 hours, so this is definitely a sprint. And I've normally done a bit of a warm-up in the swim before. I need to make sure my legs are ready to run after the bike. So trying to lay down some power on this and see what I can do.
Well, at least you haven't got to go for a run after this today. I hope you don't have to go for a run after this today. And you've got such an array of sports people out there today. Olympians, world champions, Paralympians from different disciplines. Quite an exciting bunch you are, really. So who would you really like to see yourself going past?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty excited that I'm catching up with Chris Hoy. That's pretty cool. Jonathan Edwards is quite a way in front, I think. So if I can catch up with him, I'll be really happy with that. And pretty cool to see Maddie Hinch on here as well. She's a big hero of mine. So, yeah, some amazing athletes on here.
Yeah, it really is inspiring, isn't it, for people who are all over the world joining in with this community to be able to compete against the likes of you as well. So best of luck, and I'm sure you will take all of those riders that you've just listed there. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Gabby.
It's absolutely fascinating. The gaps are slowly starting to close as we look at Paula Radcliffe. Still going strong out on the course here. Maddie Hinch, a couple of minutes behind her. Then we've got Tina Byrne, Frankenheim, Jonathan Edwards. Melanie C is only around 25 seconds behind Jonathan Edwards. And we did have a coming together on the climb. John Kariuki was actually at Greg Patmore and Kristen Armstrong were coming together. There's only a second between those two as we look at Lucy Charles-Barclay absolutely flying up this climb. It's around 2.5 kilometres long. It's on gravel, and in game they will actually, as well as the ascent, of course they're fighting against gravity on a climb, they'll be fighting against the road surface as well. But look at this, Lucy Charles-Barclay, we saw it earlier on. She had Chris Hoy in her sights, and now she has made the catch.
Come on, Chris, you're going to have to try and get onto Lucy Charles-Barclay's wheel, who's using that draft. Power up the van that we just saw pop up above his bike avatar. Increases the draft by 50% for 30 seconds. So Lucy Charles-Barclay has used that to try and draft off the back of Sir Chris Hoy as they start this Temple QOM climb. But Lucy Charles-Barclay is going fantastically well so far already. She's picking riders off. She's just passed Sir Chris Hoy. So Chris is going to have to try and hang on to the back of Lucy Charles-Barclay now.
And that was absolutely fantastic. You saw Chris Hoy make the catch then. Lucy Charles-Barclay, if you look closely at the avatar there, was actually waving at Chris Hoy. I don't know whether that was polite or whether she was slightly taking the mickey, but she's smiling at the moment, absolutely romping up this climb.
And now we're seeing Alberto Contador, who's just started this climb. And for a rider like Alberto Contador, this is perfect for him, Matt. He's a rider who relishes off getting out of the saddle, his unique climbing style that we've seen him win so many Grand Tours in the past few years.
I mean, look at that, 6 watts a kilo. He's a light rider, equates to just under 400 watts. And look at the speed of him on this climb. It is borderline frightening. It looks like he's going to go past James Cracknell very shortly. It won't be long before he actually catches Dame Sarah Story, or there's a 2-minute gap, but he will be going past Cracknell. The catch has been made. The cyclist versus the rower, and the Spanish cyclist has come back on top, absolutely flying. But importantly, Danny, just looking at the data I've got, Alberto Contador has opened up another minute on Fabian Cancellara.
He's looking the strongest out there so far, but we know it's about a pacing game. Alberto Contador using this climb to try and get those time gaps down, to try and pick the riders off. We know that the slower the riders go, the more possibility it is for them to close those gaps. So he's using that to his advantage now. He's using the climb to put out more power to go into the red, to try and get to the front of the game. Kristen Armstrong now, 3-time Olympic champion in the time trial. She knows how to pace her power. She's riding at 5 watts per kilo now. She's given it everything on this climb. We know you don't get much of a rest on the downhill, but Kristen knows how to hurt herself, that's for sure. 174 beats per minute. She's going into the red. She's choosing to use this climb to try and get to the rider just ahead of her now. She can see the rider in front. It's Lucy Hempstead, one of our community riders from Canada, who she's about to just catch now.
And it looks like Alistair Brownlee has just caught another triathlete, Lucy Charles-Barclay. So what a battle of 2 of the best triathletes in the world. Brownlee catches Lucy Charles-Barclay and is absolutely on fire. He's around halfway up this climb at the moment as we take a look at his pain cave. Well, it looks like a pain barn that he's actually riding in there. 430 watts. But to tell you what, Danny, Lucy Charles-Barclay is not going to give up, and she's sat now on the wheel on this little flatter section here. So some wise riding here by Lucy Charles-Barclay, who is a real fighter. What a coming together of 2 of the finest triathletes in the world.
This is incredible, Matt. Lucy Charles-Barclay trying to hang on desperately to the wheel of Alistair Brownlee, who's had an incredible start to this chase, who's picking riders off one by one. He's about to catch Greg Patmore now, but for Lucy Charles-Barclay, she's gonna try and hang on to Alistair Brownlee over the top of this climb. It's a real mental advantage to have a rider in front of you that you can draft on, especially on the downhill at higher speeds.
Well, Melanie C is riding very, very well indeed, as we expect. She's only a kind of 6.5 minutes off the leading rider at the moment. She's coming towards the top of the climb, looking very good, still holding around 200 watts, and that shows to me that she's in very, very good shape. She knows how to ride for between 45 minutes to an hour and is looking good at the moment. Melanie C, look at that, the RPM as well, holding steady at about 90 RPM, but the heart rate has now elevated a bit. Now they're well into the ride, given it's pretty warm as well, riding on a virtual platform, you will get that little bit of heart rate float, won't you? So keeping cool and keeping hydrated, so crucial.
Well, we've got 4 riders within about 10 seconds now, Matt. Kristen Armstrong is just behind, only 2 seconds behind Lucy Hempstead. Then we've got Jonathan Edwards, who's only 2 seconds in front, and Melanie C, again, who's just in front of Jonathan Edwards. So there's a real battle on her hands on this first time up the Temple QOM. Kristen Armstrong now, the pain face is setting in. She's gritting her teeth. She's trying to catch that rider in front. Lucy Hempstead only 2 seconds in front of Kristen Armstrong now. This is exciting.
Well, look at this. It's a coming together of Armstrong, Edwards and Hempstead, all 1 second apart. They're now on this descent, but this is the descent we were talking about before. It's on gravel, so it's a little bit harder. It's not super steep, so you need to keep pedaling, but Armstrong is absolutely flying. Goes straight past the world triple jump record holder Jonathan Edwards, and has now had Hempstead in her sights, and it looks like the catch is going to be made. Wonderful scenes as the dust kicks up, and another rider just in front as well. Looks like a little bit of an aero tuck. That's I think one of the only places on this circuit to get an aero tuck, and just shows the speed that Armstrong is going.
She must be going super fast, Matt, to get into that aero tuck. She's just been passed now again by Lucy Hempstead, so there really is cat and mouse going on between the Canadian rider and the American 3-time Olympic champion Kristen Armstrong. Melanie C's only a couple of seconds in front of the rider, so she's going to have to try and dig in deep now, as she's over 4 watts per kilo to try and stay away from the 2 riders that are just behind. Maybe they'll try and work together, Matt.
Indeed, well, they're back. They're just going through the marketplace now. They're off the Temple descent, and she can Melanie C, if she looks behind her, please don't look behind her. All you'll see is a wall. But you've got a couple of riders coming up behind Hempstead and Armstrong. But Melanie C could actually, if she just drops into the slipstream of these 2 riders on this second, she could get a little bit of a rest. So Melanie C, if you can just pick it up, get into the slipstream of Armstrong and Hempstead. This is what it's all about. We've got our first mini peloton here.
We have, Matt. This is perfect. Melanie C really needs to dig in deep now so the gaps don't develop, and these 3 riders can now work together to try and get to the finish.
As we look at Fabian Cancellara still on the climb, absolutely powering up this hill, the double Olympic time trial champion, 3 times winner of Paris-Roubaix, 3 times winner of the Tour of Flanders, and he is, well, he's fighting, and that's one thing that Fabian Cancellara will always do. He will never give up here. 450 watts, over 5 watts a kilo for the man with some of the biggest thighs in cycling and one of the best views today.
Absolutely, Matt, but he's still got such a battle on his hands. There's nearly 10-minute gap between himself and Paula Radcliffe, who's out there at the front at the moment. But he needs to try and home in on the rider in front, James Cracknell, who's around 1.5 minutes ahead of him now. Alberto Contador, who we're seeing, he's sat down in the saddle to try and keep that consistent power on this flat section of road. He's having a great ride. He's got Sarah Story just 10 seconds ahead. And then Chris Hoy's not much further up the road, but a fantastic start from the Spanish rider.
Yeah, he's actually, I mean, he's clearly the strongest out on the course at the moment in terms of the numbers that he's putting out, managing to ride just on the flatter part of the descent at well over 45 k's an hour as we go back up the road to one of our very early starters, the rider that started off in 2nd place. That's Tina Boyne Frankenheim, looking very good, although she's just been passed here. I think that was, well, one of the riders just went absolutely flying past her, but wonderful to see Tina Boyne Frankenheim in action here. The former boxer has had many difficulties in her life, but I tell you what, she's looking very good today, and that's a respectable performance. Still hovering at around 2 watts a kilo there.
Dame Sarah Story, the most successful Paralympian of all times, just come back from the World Championships where she picked up 2 more gold medals to add to her palmarès. She's in her pain cave. Look at the efficient pedaling style from Dame Sarah Story now. She can hurt herself. She knows what power she can hold for this duration, and she's setting this pace nicely.
Well, look at this. We've got a real mini peloton on our hands here. This is Lucy Hampstead, Melanie C, Alistair Brownlee. It's like a star-studded peloton of triathletes and pop stars. Absolutely wonderful stuff. You wouldn't get this anywhere else, would you? Apart from on this wonderful virtual platform. What an event this virtual series, Ultimate Chase, is. Absolutely spectacular stuff. But so much to play for here. But this is the wonderful thing about riding on this platform. There is the benefit of drafting. So on these flatter sections now before the climb, there's a real benefit if you're a weaker rider to sit in the slipstream of another, isn't there?
There is, Matt, and this is really going to benefit these riders to come into this pack formation. We're seeing almost a road race on our hands now, and the riders will naturally now travel a faster speed if they can stay together. So they need to work together now and look at how they're going to win. Is it going to be an attack on the last time up the Temple QOM? Are they going to leave it all to the flatter sprint finish? But we've got about 6 riders now who are in this peloton formation, profiting off riding each other's wheels. Will they have a draft power-up that they can use? We know there's 3 that the riders can use throughout this race: the feather, the draft, and the aero that can come into play.
Yeah, this is fascinating. I didn't think we'd see such a big group, but the handicapping system has worked very, very well here. This is an elite group of riders: Armstrong, Charles Barclay, Hempstead and Brownlee. And we know how strong Brownlee is, but look at Alberto Contador. He is eating up the tarmac here on the Umezi World. Absolutely flying here, back up to around about 300 watts, 5 watts a kilo he's managing to hold. He's kept himself, since retiring 3 years ago, in very, very good shape. I know he's recently been riding in the Dolomites and the mountains. He rode up the Monte Zonclan very recently, so he's kept himself in very good form, and it looks as if he's going to catch very, very shortly Dame Sarah Story, who's just in front of him now. He's just fired up the draft boost to try and get onto the wheel of the Flying Spaniard.
That was perfect timing there from Dame Sarah Story, who's going to try desperately to get onto the back wheel of Alberto Contador. Like you said, Matt, just a big boost now. He's sprinted past Dame Sarah Story to try and make sure she can't latch onto his back wheel and profit off his hard work. And this climb's going to be a walk in the park for someone like Alberto Contador, especially if he's been up the Monte Zonclan recently.
Oh, definitely. We're looking at Greg Patmore now, who's also looking very, very good out on course, sitting in 10th position, holding steady about 3.5 watts a kilo. The rider just behind him, just trying, it was Jonathan Edwards, so he's just actually overtaken Jonathan Edwards. He's also overtaken Chris Hoy as well, but the next rider you'd think that may pass him, although he's got a 1 minute and 45 second advantage, is Alberto Contador. So Greg, you're looking very, very good indeed, as of course we haven't seen her for a little while, as is Maddie Hinch, who is flying here 3.1 watts a kilo inside her pain cave, and she's still got a pretty decent gap. Well, it's 8 seconds over Karajuki. Now she needs, what do you think the tactic should be here? Do you think she should relax, get caught and sit on the wheel for a little bit?
She's looking pretty composed there in her pain cave. There's no pain face on the face of Maddie Hinch at this moment in time. But I think if I was Maddie, I'd try and get out the saddle soon to make that effort to try and latch onto the back wheel of John Karajuki. He's just about to pass Maddie Hinch. Are we going to see an effort from Maddie Hinch to try and get on the back? We are. Look at this, 4 watts per kilo now. Maddie Hinch is out the saddle to try and get onto the back wheel of John Karajuki.
Well, a good little acceleration there. He's opened up a little bit of a gap, but Maddie Hinch really fighting tooth and nail to get back in contact with the rider that's just passed her, Greg Patmore, just underneath the little arch there. That's another opportunity to pick up another power-up, of course. The other power-ups that are available, we've seen the draft in use. Talk through us briefly, Danny, what the other power-ups are, feather and aero.
Sure, Matt. So the feather power-up reduces the rider's weight by 10% for 15 seconds. That's the feather icon, which would most commonly be used on the climb. The aero power-up is the other power-up we haven't seen yet, which is the aero helmet, which makes the riders more aerodynamic by 25% for 15 seconds. And the riders would use this on a high-speed part of the course, so the flat section or the finish, because we know that does flatten out in the last few hundred meters. Paula Radcliffe is in first position now. She's holding her own at the front of the race. She's learnt from the ride that she did before last year through that lockdown. She's ridden on this platform. She knows how to ride. She's put the work in, Matt, and it's paying off today.
It certainly is. She still has that 2-minute buffer over John Kariuki. 3:16 to Brownlee, and Charles Barkley was still swapping turns. The two triathletes there. Great use of the draft power up there by Lucy Charles Barkley, who was on the wheel of Alistair Brownlee. This is another horrible little kicker. This is the little kicker that takes her through to the village onsen. It's a kind of precursor. You can just see the grass in the middle of the road here as Brownlee tries to drop Charles Barkley. What a battle between these two triathletes. Really, really fascinating stuff.
What a double act these two are turning out to be. Incredible riding from Lucy Charles Barkley to be able to hang on to the back of Alistair Brownlee. There seems to be a little gap developing now, Matt. Come on, Lucy, you can hang on to the back wheel of Alistair on this section. They've only got one climb to go now. We really are coming into the final few kilometres of this race, and these two triathletes are really holding their own. It's going to be an exciting finish.
It certainly is. Is Alistair Brownlee going to be involved in that finish? Lucy Charles Barkley is on his shoulder. You can see him there in his pain barn, as Matt Stevens called it. Have you got anything in the tank to just give us your tactics going into this final part of the race, Alistair?
Just go hard.
You're going to go hard. You've got Lucy on your tail, Alistair. Can you feel her?
Yeah.
Breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
She's going hard for the next 20 minutes or so. We shall let you go and get yourself right there in position to have that beautiful sprint finish up there in Yorkshire. He is, Alistair Brownlee, and Lucy Charles Barkley is not giving up. She is on his tail.
Well, we're looking at Chris Hoy a little bit further down the road here, but still, I mean, this is a man. We know he's into his motor racing now, very successful in a car, but hasn't forgotten how to ride a bike. Look at the numbers. Look how smooth he is. An absolute picture as he hits this little climb coming up towards the fishing village. But there is a real battle up ahead because Paula Radcliffe has a 1 minute and 35-second lead over John Kariuki. But just behind them is Alistair Brownlee, and he cannot shake off Lucy Charles Barkley as we look at Kariuki, who has a 29-second advantage over the two triathletes who are chasing him behind. And still, Danny, the fearsome climb to come.
There is. Have the riders left enough in their tank to get over the climb in their current positions, or can they pick riders off? John Kariuki now is out of the saddle. Only 2.6 kilometres to go. John Kariuki started off the day in 11th place and has got up to 2nd place now behind Paula Radcliffe. He is eking out that time. 1 minute and 20 seconds is the gap to Paula Radcliffe now. He's given it everything. 192 beats per minute. He's into the red in this last 2.4 kilometres of the climb. It's a tough 2.4 kilometres, Matt.
It certainly is. I don't think Alberto, despite the fact that Alberto Conto is romping around this course, I don't think there's going to be enough tarmac and enough gravel, in fact, to catch this rider, Kariuki. But can he catch Paula Radcliffe, who's well on to the temple climb on the gravel? And I tell you what, she's absolutely fighting tooth and nail up this climb, holding around 200 watts and is looking very, very good. She's got 1 minute and 8 seconds over Kariuki, 1 minute and 30 seconds over Brownlee and Charles Barkley, who at the moment are inseparable. This is a real fierce battle. Come on, Lucy, get back onto the wheel of Alistair. This is an absolutely spectacular show.
This is now a game of mental strength. Lucy Charles Barkley, she's used to trying hard for hours and hours upon end. She's only got 1.9 kilometres to go now. Come on, Lucy, you can hang on to that back wheel of Alistair Brownlee, who's just eking that gap out to Lucy Charles Barkley. He's making his move to try and catch John Kariuki.
Well, Kariuki's flying up this climb, but Brownlee has just detached himself. At last, he'll be thinking, here is Brownlee out of the saddle here. 6.4 watts a kilo as he hurtles up the temple. I'm going to call it the Temple of Doom. And I do think that he's got Kariuki in his crosshairs, in his sights. In turn, Kariuki can possibly see Paula Radcliffe, who only has 28 seconds with 1.7 kilometres to go. What a thriller. You couldn't have scripted this, Danny.
You couldn't. Who's going to come out on top now? Alistair Brownlee looking strong as he gets out of the saddle. 5.8 watts per kilo. He's holding that high power. He's got John Kariuki in his sights. He's a about to pass John Kariuki. Paula Radcliffe only 19 seconds ahead. Is that enough distance to be able to catch Paula Radcliffe, the incredible legend that she is?
Well, Brownlee now, after that big effort, has got a little bit of an opportunity to rest. Paula Radcliffe has just got to ride her own race here because she's being borne down on by Brownlee and Kariuki. And I tell you what, Charles Barkley is only a further 7 seconds behind. You can just see her on this little flatter section. She could get back in contact, but what a ride by Paula Radcliffe. A redemptive ride by the 3 times London Marathon winner, who gets passed by Alistair Brownlee, the double Olympic triathlon champion. Lucy Charles Barkley not far behind, but it is Brownlee for the first time now, with 1.5 Ks to go, who takes the lead.
Has he gone too early, Matt? Watts per kilo looking strong, 6.6 watts per kilo now. We can see Lucy Charles Barkley, she's not giving up. She's got John Kariuki in her sights now. There's only 1 second separating these two riders. She's going to pass John Kariuki. Has he got anything left in the tank to try and get back to Lucy Charles Barkley? It's Alistair Brownlee now who's in the lead. He's got an 8-second gap already, Matt.
Well, 8-second lead, and look at that. Lucy Charles Barkley even had the kind of presence of mind and also the sportsmanship to give a little wave to the rider she's just passed. Absolutely wonderful scenes here. But Alistair Brownlee now has only 1,200 metres to go in this ultimate chase, and it has absolutely been spectacular. But Brownlee is so far the quickest. I tell you who is moving very, very quickly, not inside the top 10, Alberto Contador. We've still got Hinch, Hoy, Melanie C. What a ride by her. Patmore, Armstrong, Hempstead, Radcliffe, Kariuki and Charles Barkley. But it does look as if with 1.1 Ks to go and the use of an aero power-up that Brownlee is going to take this. But what a consummate performance by the double Olympic champion.
Incredible. The aero helmet has been dropped. This is making Alistair Brownlee more aero by 25%. A perfect time to use this inside the last 1 kilometre of the ride. Lucy Charles Barkley here, the last effort for Lucy to try and take that silver medal in this virtual chase that we're seeing out on the road today. Lucy Charles Barkley out of the saddle on her avatar, gritting her teeth on the screen. 800 metres to go. 800
metres to go. The steepest part of the climb is done for Lucy Charles Barkley. It kicks up again to around 6%, but she's holding steady. I don't think she'll be able to get Brownlee back, but she certainly opened up a decent gap on John Kariuki. But meanwhile, up in front, nearly 20 seconds to the good, continuing to press home this advantage is Alistair Brownlee. Look at the stats, real even rhythm, constantly over 6.2 or 6.1 watts a kilo. An impressively dynamic performance by a rider who's now focusing on the longer distance events, and he looks dangerous.
He does, Matt, and I think he's got this wrapped up, but he's not giving in. He's going to fight all the way to the line. You could see him out of the saddle there in this last sprint. It's a tough finish. It does feel like you're riding on treacle on this gravel, but that's not getting in the way of Alistair Brownlee, who's had a phenomenal ride out there today. 6.1 watts per kilo. Still, the gap is growing. He's going to take this solo win. Really incredible ride.
Well, meanwhile, a little bit further down, Alberto Contador has emerged into the top 10, shutting down over 4 minutes. What a ride by him, but no doubt about the winner here. Alistair Brownlee is going to take the win. As we zoom out and pan across this beautiful world, this is the Temple KOM. This is the mystical giant tree. It has been a mystical performance by a rider that is superb across all of the disciplines. He can swim, he can run, and of course he can ride a bicycle. This has been the ultimate chase, and this has been the ultimate ride by the double Olympic champion. Alistair Brownlee goes over the wooden bridge into the heart of the giant mystical tree and is the winner of the ultimate chase. Alistair Brownlee takes the win.
That was an absolutely astonishing ride from Alistair Brownlee there. He started way down just in front of Alberto Contador, and he's picked off 13 riders, Matt, to take this victory today out there, as we see Lucy Charles Barkley taking second place. Another phenomenal ride from the Ironman specialist.
Yeah, superb performance by Lucy Charles Barkley. What a battle, and a superb ride here as well by John Kariuki from the Zwift community, one of the 4 Zwift community riders from Kenya. An absolutely wonderful performance by him. That is a solid third place, just in front of Paula Radcliffe. So Paula Radcliffe should hold on, you would imagine, for fourth place here. As we look a little bit further down, she's got Kristen Armstrong kind of breathing down her neck at around 50 seconds. So a real solid battle here for the minor placings as Alberto Contador on this climb continues to take riders. It looks as if, well, he's only going to be taking Chris Hoy very shortly as well.
These riders are so competitive, Matt. These minor placings do mean so much. The riders can't give up. It's really important now to try and give everything you can to cross that line, leaving nothing left in the tank to give it your absolute best. These riders, these athletes know how to do that. Kristen Armstrong now coming up to Lucy Hempstead. There's going to be a battle, a sprint on our hands now in the last few hundred meters as they cross this bridge and come into the sight of the finish line.
Yep, this is where the road flattens out a little bit. Pause for breath here with Kristen Armstrong just about to overtake Hempstead as we look a little bit further up the road. Paula Radcliffe, I think, is going to take, yes, she is, a very, very solid fourth place after leading for so long, but couldn't quite hold on. But that is a fine, fine fourth place, and I think she should be pretty happy with that, Danny.
Definitely, Matt. She's had a fantastic ride out there today. She's really paced herself well. She got off to a really strong start. She's mentioned before that's what she learned from the last chase ride that she did last year. But it's Lucy Hempstead now, the Canadian, alongside Kristen Armstrong, the American, coming into the sprint finish. It looks like Kristen Armstrong's leading as we see Lucy Hempstead putting the power down. This is going to be a close one.
It certainly is. Armstrong v Hempstead for fifth place on the day. They're both not going to give up. Armstrong is leading at the moment. Hempstead has got into the slipstream of the triple Olympic champion. She tries to draw level. She backs on to the wheel of Armstrong. It flattens out here. Armstrong surges, opens up a little bit of a gap as the road just bears to the left and the finishing banner comes into sight. Kristen Armstrong takes a very solid fifth place, kicking out 9 watts a kilo after nearly an hour of effort. What a ride. Hempstead there in sixth.
Really strong finish by both riders, knocking out over 9 watts per kilo in that sprint. They really rode that to perfection to be able to do that sprint towards the end. But it's Greg Patmore now that we're seeing giving it his all, 183 beats per minute. He is in the red at over 3.4 watts per kilo. Coming into the finish for Greg Patmore, he's going to take 7th place in this chase ride today. Chris Hoy's not far behind him.
Now, Chris Hoy is riding a superb race. He hasn't actually been caught by Alberto Contador, so Chris Hoy looking very good, but Patmore out of the saddle isn't giving up at all. Member of course, the Black Cyclist Network, you know, flying the flag for diversity as well. Tech mad and a father of 2 and flying around this course like he does the M25, I believe. He rides around the M25, weirdly, bizarrely, once a year. More about that later on, perhaps. But Patmore absolutely flying and a very, very respectable performance. He's still got about 600 meters to go. This is where the road, or the path, or the track, should I say, kicks up around the left-hander. Such a difficult climb to judge.
It really is, Matt, and it is such a game of mental strength now when they know that riders have finished ahead of them and they've still got a few hundred meters left to go. They've got to find something and dig in really deep now to try and not let those riders behind catch them. The gaps are pretty small now from Greg Patmore to Chris Hoy to Alberto Contador and even Melanie C. She needs to dig in and make sure she can finish strongly as well.
Well, Patmore has got around 20 seconds on Sir Chris Hoy, and Patmore knows he cannot afford to give too much leeway to a man, well, who can sprint everybody off his wheel. But Patmore, an exceptionally respectable ride here by Patmore. On to that final little wooden bridge. The road swings to the left. The gradient mercifully levels off just a little bit, and he rides himself into the heart of the giant mystical tree. His ride, his ultimate chase, is over, and a wonderful performance by Greg. As you see, another battle behind. It is Contador versus Hoy.
Wow, who's going to take this? On paper, you would say that Chris Hoy is the faster of the two, but has he got anything left in his legs after an hour of racing? Who's going to take this last sprint? Alberto Contador is staying in the saddle. It looks like Alberto Contador, but Chris Hoy's coming back.
Oh, what a battle. Whoever thought we'd see Contador and Hoy battling it out for a sprint, but Hoy takes it, I think, on the line. It was almost a photo finish there, but what a wonderful battle. Alberto Contador and Chris Hoy, only on the ultimate chase. Absolutely superb stuff.
That's why we love it, Matt. What a fantastic sprint that was by Alberto Contador and Sir Chris Hoy, the Scotsman against the Spaniard. Melanie C is in the last few minutes of her ride now. She needs to try and get out of the saddle. She's got Dame Sarah Story just behind. Can Mel C get onto the back wheel of Dame Sarah Story and try and take her in this final sprint finish?
We just saw Chris Hoy versus Alberto Contador. Now it's a Dame versus a Spice Girl. You could not make this up, but Dame Sarah Story romping up this climb. But I know that Melanie C will not give up. 25 years of the Spice Girls. Put your hands together. This is pure entertainment. All the riders here digging deep, but Dame Sarah Story, 370 watts over the bridge, is looking good here.
She is. The gap's coming out to Melanie C. My idol, Sporty Spice. Has she got anything left to close the gap to Dame Sarah Story? As Dame Sarah Story rockets past, I don't think she has, Matt. Dame Sarah Story now finishing this chase. Incredible ride from the multiple Olympic, world, European medalist. She's just won 2 more world medals last week.
Oh, great ride by Dame Sarah Story. And there's Melanie C. Just crosses the line just outside the top 10 in 11th position. But that really was a magnificent ride as we look a little bit further down the Temple KOM to the figure of Jonathan Edwards, the finest triple jumper of his generation, and still the finest because he's jumped the furthest. That record, 1995, of course, the Olympic champion as well. Loves his bike riding. It's been a tough day for Jonathan Edwards, but one thing's for sure, he's looking good in his cave. I saw him having a couple of snacks earlier on. I wonder if he could tell us what they were, but looking good as we come towards the top with about 800 metres to go.
That would be good, Matt, but it looks like we might have another battle on our hands. We've got Jonathan Edwards, James Cracknell, Fabian Cancellara and Maddie Hinch, all within 30 seconds of each other. We can see another chase now on our hands as James Cracknell's just passed Jonathan Edwards coming into the last kilometre of the race.
Well, James Cracknell, of course, himself, 2 Olympic gold medals, 6 world gold medals as well. But Cracknell has gone straight past Jonathan Edwards and is looking very, very good. Look at the stats of James Cracknell, still hovering around 300 watts. What a performance this is. Superb. Last part of the climb. He's going to try and keep that little acceleration going just over this steep section here. This is the last steep section before just over to the top left of your picture. We'll be able to see the finishing gantry. A quick swig from his virtual bead on from Cracknell, but a superb performance which should net him 12th place. Although flying up behind at only 6 seconds is Fabian Cancellara, another Olympic gold medalist, chasing down Cracknell.
James Cracknell should not look behind him now as he's got Fabian Cancellara rocketing behind him, closing that gap. The gap's coming down. 5 seconds is the gap now. James Cracknell, you need to try and get out the saddle if you can. Give it everything in these last 200 metres. Can Fabian Cancellara close this gap to James Cracknell to take 12th spot in this chase?
Well, Cracknell has the finishing line nearly in sight. This is the last bridge, but look at the speed of Spartacus. The dust cloud behind. He's chasing down Cracknell. It's going to be a photo finish between the double Olympic time trial champion and the double Olympic rower. And I think Cracknell just takes it on the line. And what a ride by Fabian Cancellara to close in on the rower there. Wonderful, wonderful stuff by Cancellara and Cracknell. And a little bit further down, we have Maddie Hinch, who's still pressing on. Very, very respectable ride by her.
It is. She competed only a couple of days ago in the European Championships for hockey herself, so I'm sure the legs are burning out there today as Jonathan Edwards finishes his ride in the Olympic virtual chase.
14th place for Jonathan Edwards. Please get behind Maddie Hinch. This has been a great performance by the England and Great Britain hockey goalkeeper, the #1 ranked keeper in the world. Not her favourite sport at all, but what a performance, a real performance of guts.
It has been, Matt, over an hour of racing, coming up to an hour and 10 minutes of riding. That is a lot more effort than she's used to giving at a time. She's used to those 10 seconds bursts, as we heard in her interview before. So incredible ride out there for Maddie Hinch, the greatest goalkeeper of all time on the hockey field.
Indeed, here she is. She's just coming in to the finishing now of the giant mystical tree. The finish line, the finish gantry is in sight. And the ultimate chase for Maddie Hinch is done and dusted. Fighting all the way to the line. Look at the effort. Finally letting go. Releasing that pressure. And a very, very fine 15th place on the day for Maddie Hinch. We've got one more rider out on the course, and that's Tina Boyne-Frankenheim, the former boxer. survivor of breast cancer, the former runner as well, and she is absolutely battling. Just look at the kind of study of concentration on her face.
She's used Zwift to try and help her, you know, mental strength in the last few years. An incredible ride from the German.
And she'll be the final rider home and the final rider from our Zwift community. The 4 Zwift community riders against some of the finest athletes in the world have equipped themselves exceptionally well. This has been a wonderful race, the ultimate chase as part of the Olympic Virtual Series. And Tina Broen-Frankenheim will have the finish line in sight now. The waterfall to her left, the flowing river to her right. She can enjoy these last few 100 metres, even some lovely flowers on the left-hand side here. There is the giant mystical tree. Only a couple of 100 metres now, or 125 metres before she crosses the line. Tina Broen-Frankenheim of the Zwift community, done and dusted. Her ultimate chase is finished now, and another superb performance. 16 superb performances for me.
Well, let's chat to our winner today, the magnificent Alistair Brownlee. We should never have doubted you, Alistair, with your Yorkshire grit and determination that you were going to hold off Lucy Charles-Barclay there. You gave it everything in those last few minutes.
Yeah, thank you. I actually enjoyed that. It felt like a long time waiting at the start, watching everyone else set off, and I thought, there's no chance I'm going to see some of these guys again. I caught Lucy just at the top of the hill at the first time, and then we rode together, and that worked really well. And then I went quite hard, I guess, halfway up that last climb. And once you got a gap, I couldn't get caught again. So that's why I was going so hard. And when you started asking me questions, yeah, that was when I was going as hard as I possibly could. So I apologise, the answers were a bit short.
Sorry about my timing. My timing was everything there, wasn't it? And you probably got one of the most unusual backdrops as well today. Is that a cow shed?
Yeah, there's no cows in it right now, but it is indeed a cow shed. And yeah, this is where I do a lot of my training when the weather's bad and I can't train outside, or when I want to be on Zwift.
Well, huge congratulations today. We saw absolutely everything in you, every sinew of competitiveness coming out there. So well done.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let's chat to Lucy Charles-Barclay, who gave us all such entertainment there, Lucy. It was a really thrilling race, and you were right on Alistair Brownlee's tail, weren't you, for so long there?
Yeah, it couldn't have worked out much better, to be honest, just trying to hang on a fellow triathlete's wheel. And I really was going all in to hang with Alistair there. I think felt a bit bad trying to cling on, but I hopefully use those power-ups at the right time to give me that little advantage.
Yeah, I think you did. And your experience showed there in the way you used your tools throughout the race. And obviously, as you mentioned, those triathletes out there in front, a good advertisement for the sport, and the power that you obviously have to display as well when you're on the bike. Normally, of course, as you mentioned during the race, you're going for hours and hours, 8 to 9 hours. So that was a walk in the park for you, was it?
Well, it hurt a lot more, to be honest, than when I'm normally racing. That's a lot more intense than I'm used to. So. But like you said, I'm definitely an experienced Zwift rider. I do a lot of racing on Zwift, so I definitely know the right time to kind of use those power-ups and when to push hard and when you can have a little rest and draft the person in front. So it's a lot more tactical than it looks.
And did we see your four-legged friend keeping you company in there today, Lucy?
She is in here, the dog, yeah. She has to stay away from the turbo trainers, though, so she sometimes gets a bit inquisitive and we're like, don't come near the moving parts. But at the end, she's straight over to lick the sweat. So
she has her uses. Lucy, congratulations. We loved watching you race today. It was absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk to John Kariuki, who is in Iten in Kenya, from the Zwift community, almost catching those front two as well. Are you happy with how you paced that today?
I think it was good. I did expect Lucy and other who was second to catch me, but I was maintaining myself for a quite, and I've been racing for Zwift like the whole last year. I was knowing how to pace myself, but the last climb I broke up a bit, but I was able to finish that.
Representing the Zwift community there brilliantly. Thank you, John Kariuki there in Kenya.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure racing with these big names, famous guys. Contrary there, I mean, it was nice.
John, you beat some very big names indeed.
Yeah. It was nice beating them.
Well, there were so many fantastic mini battles on the course today, and one of those was between Canada's Lucy Hempstead and Kristen Armstrong, and eventually, Kristen just got the better of it. It's almost like she's got 3 Olympic gold medals, isn't it, or something? But you were there on her tail, neck and neck. It was a brilliant contest. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. But, like, that was just unreal to be able to do that. I'm so grateful.
It was incredible. I wonder if we'd been, seeing the two of you out there on a course like that, what would have happened? Seeing it virtually, it was so exciting, though. And obviously, you're used to racing much longer distances as well. So, did it feel like it was a constant sprint for you there?
Yeah, it kind of felt like a time trial, which was kind of, like, I've done time trials before, and, like, I prefer climbing and stuff. So, like, a summit finish time trial like that was way more up my alley than a normal flat one. So I think that's where maybe I had a bit of an advantage, but I don't know. It was brutal the whole time.
And how much was the incentive there that you knew you had this 3-time Olympic gold medalist that you could have caught? Was that what was going on through your mind?
Oh, yeah. When Lucy and Alistair passed us as well, I was like, okay, well, this is the peloton of my dreams, and it'll get me to go faster to the end of the course. So that was a big enough incentive for me to push to get on that wheel.
Well done, and thank you for giving us so much entertainment today. It really was thrilling watching you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well, there we have it, our top 10. And, of course, for Alistair Brownlee, Lucy Charles-Barclay really holding up well for the sport of triathlon. And for the community of Zwift, John Kariuki, fantastic in 3rd place. Paula Radcliffe as well. What an improvement in her performance from her previous Zwift. Triple Olympic gold medalist Kristen Armstrong coming in 5th with another Zwift community rider. What a talent she is, Lucy Hempstead, the former 400-metre runner and 400-metre hurdler there, giving us a wonderful, thrilling end to the race with her battle with Kristen. Greg Patmore as well from the Zwift community of Great Britain, doing fantastically well. He's training for the marathon at the moment as well. Maybe he's got a future in triathlon. And Chris Hoy, well, he told us, didn't he? He likes a K, maybe. He likes a few laps of a velodrome. That was a lot further than his comfort zone would normally afford him, but a magnificent performance, tying, what a finish that was, with Alberto Contador. That's something to tell the grandchildren about, isn't it? And Dame Sarah Story, inside the top 10, who is the most decorated of Paralympians, of course, and world champion as well, multiple times. What would you expect from her? Nothing less than a really competitive ride. Let's get the take, though, from our commentary team, Matt Stevens and Danny Rowe. Guys, brilliantly commentated on, but what a joy to commentate on a race like that, Danny. I mean, there were so many mini battles going on.
It really was, Gabby. What a fantastic ride we had on our hands. Some real battles going on. My ride of the day was Lucy Charles-Barclay. Incredible to go from so far down to 2nd place and to hang on to Alistair Brownlee's wheel for so long. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, the way she pushed him was fantastic, wasn't it? And she did push him. And then, of course, we spoke to Lucy Hempstead there of Canada, who is the Zwift community rider, and Kristen Armstrong, Matt. That was also another wonderful little mini battle going on.
It certainly was. And the wonderful thing about this platform and this event is the fact that we get these Zwift community riders riding with their kind of heroes, their heroines, the kind of stars. And it was lovely for her to have kind of referenced the fact that it was the peloton of her dreams. Yeah. And that was a lovely, lovely touching moment. And where else as well, Gabby, would you see a battle between Sir Chris Hoy and Alberto Contador for a top 10 place? And then Mel C just breathing down their backs just outside the top 10 as well. Absolutely wonderful. It was a pleasure to commentate on it. Really, really was.
Yeah, and the course itself, I want to go there. How beautiful was it, Matt? I mean, it just looked fantastic, didn't it?
I think the riders should be allowed a couple of laps where they just get like served tea and coffee and cakes, and where they can ride at only about 100 watts, they can actually properly experience it, because I don't think they had the opportunity to really soak up that wonderful Eastern atmosphere, because it really is quite special. I think for me, the cherry blossoms were the thing that just lit it up for me.
And the bridge at the end, as they went into the finish, was beautiful. The waterfall looked very inviting indeed. Guys, thank you so much. You really brought it to life for us. Thank you, Danny and Matt. Well, the fun doesn't stop here. There's one more event you can sign up for to ride with your sporting heroes.
If you're feeling inspired by the Olympic Virtual Series and want the chance to ride alongside Olympians yourself, join the community for a unique 24-hour group ride. There'll be 24 mass participation group rides kicking off every hour, each led by a different Olympian and special guest. You could ride with British Paralympian Dame Sarah Story, or Swiss cross-country mountain biker Nino Schurter, the Flying Scotsman himself, Sir Chris Hoy, the Queen of BMX, Mariana Pajon, or how about riding with one of the OGs, Nelson the Cheetah Vales. Whether you want to test the waters with one ride or challenge yourself to more, keep the 23rd of June free and enjoy a full day of virtual cycling action with your favourite athletes in the new Makuri Islands.
That looks like a lot of fun. Get involved if you can. My thanks today to Danny Rowe and Matt Stevens for their very hard work in bringing that race to life. Fantastically done. And of course to all our riders as well for taking on the hills on the Umezi map for our entertainment. And thank you for being with us for the Olympic Virtual Series Ultimate Chase. Congratulations to Alistair Brownlee. He was the ultimate winner in the end. From all of us, goodbye.